What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Grow Family Network. And today, of course, is gonna be a good day because I got me another guest. And today's guest is Miss Diana with Garden Loves Homestead. Um, Beautiful because I think this is. I was looking at my analytics, and a lot of my viewers are actually women, and I know a lot of women garden because I see women all the time in the nurseries. And I think it's one thing to see. What I like about Miss Diana's channel is that when she started the last couple of years, she's been in a real small space. So for people that's trying to garden in small spaces, I think her channel is going to be the perfect channel for you to go to and learn how to grow those fruit trees. Because people always ask me, like, Mr. Grow, can I grow a citrus in a container? Can I grow this in a container? You know, these different kind of trees. And she was growing for the last 3 years, all of her trees in containers. I think she put a few of them in the ground, but for the most part, all of them were in containers. And now she's finally found that land she's been looking for. I think it's 4 acres. It looks, I always say it looks like about 8 acres out there. But I think it's like 4 acres. As you know, we have 3 acres. I think it's like 2.97, but it's like 3 acres. So she actually has, what's going on, Garden Trinity? Hey, everybody else. She has more land. So I'm excited to see what she's going to do in the coming years. I've been following her channel. She's adding so much stuff because with more land, you can add a little bit more. So she's been adding so much stuff, and I want to bring her in and let her introduce herself. And don't forget, if you got questions for her, put them in the comments. She's going to love answering all the questions you have, if she can. And here she goes, Miss D. I always say Miss D when I'm commenting, just to not put her whole name, but here's Miss Diana from Garden Loves Homestead.
Hi,
Hey,
how are you? I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for bringing me and being part of this. I'm just very excited.
all right, all right. So tell us a little bit about your channel. Tell us a little bit about when you started and where you are now. Just tell us a little bit, like when you got started as far as YouTube, and then we'll get into some more questions.
So I've always loved gardening. I've been passionate about fruit trees and the idea of myself or my children picking a fruit out of a tree that's organic with no chemicals. And I started actually growing fruit trees in containers because I didn't have the space about 3.5 years ago. And it was kind of just an experiment because I wanted to see if I can actually grow a fruit tree in a container and if I can actually get fruit out of it. And to my surprise, I was able to do both. If you guys seen my channel, or if you haven't, I highly suggest you guys go visit some of my videos. You can definitely grow fruit trees in containers and successfully get fruit out of it. So you can definitely do it. It's been 3 years. A lot of my fruit trees, I've had a little bit longer than that. I started recording like 3 to 4 years ago, but I have a few trees that are about 8 years and they're still in containers. They're still producing tons of fruit. And it's just a technique and a special care that they require because your fruit trees are different once you're growing them in container versus when you're growing them in the ground, because the only resource, like I say in all my videos, that your fruit trees have is you.
Yeah. Cool. So before we get started, I want y'all to notice in the live stream in the comments, I actually do have a link for Miss Diana's channel. The first one that says Grow Family Network, that's going to be a link to her channel. And then I linked her favorite video, or my favorite video of hers. But I'll talk about that video a little bit later. My first question I want to ask you is why? Why? I think I asked Miss Beauty in the Garden the same thing a couple weeks ago. Why did you start gardening? If you can share that with us.
So to make a long story short, during that time of my life, some things had gone wrong. I was pretty down in life. My family and my kids, everybody was super healthy, and I was still super blessed. But certain things, I guess you can say in the work side of it, weren't going as I planned, and things weren't happening. And I was pretty down. So I just decided to start gardening to distract my mind, to help me focus on something more than myself. Of course, I was taking care of my kids and my family. Everything was good there, but I needed something more to fulfill my heart and soul. So I started gardening. I started growing things and paying attention to what the trees liked and fertilizing them and watering them. And before you knew it, an hour had gone by and I was distracted and I felt wonderful. So I want to say that was my therapy through those hard times. And ever since then I've been doing it. I love it.
Cool. Did you start when you started as a new gardener? Did you start with those fruit trees, or did you start with a vegetable garden in those containers, or was it just fruit
It
trees?
was definitely a fruit tree. I still have the very first tree that I ever purchased and I got. It's my Eureka lemon tree that's growing aspalera. I don't know if you remember that. It's my tree that's growing. It's about 8 years old, and that I've done just about every mistake with that tree, but because I paid attention to it, they're not doing well, or the leaves were completely off at one point, or I've been paying attention that now it's like beautiful. It's full of leaves and it's full of fruit. I wish I can show you guys a picture. But my very first tree was a Eureka lemon, and I have it still.
Now I know. I think the first video I saw yours was the thumbnail with the hat on with the air layering, right? After I had never air layered until I think I watched a few videos, and then I watched your video of the I don't know. Was it a pink lemon? Was it a
Yes, that was actually my neighbor's tree.
Yeah.
And he had a pink Eureka lemon, and I air layer. I actually learned the technique from Ivy Organic. He taught me that technique. And I air layer it, and till this day I still have the tree.
Wow.
So it's been, I think, 3 to 4 years now, because that was one of my first videos. And it's still growing. It's actually doing better than the same. I bought the same tree just in case that didn't make it. I have them both in containers, and the one that I air layer is doing much better than the one that I have from the store that's grafted. So yeah.
Have you air layered anything since then? Have you tried any air layers since then?
I've tried a few things, but I've tried it at other people's houses, and since I had to rely on them watering it,
yeah.
So this year I'm gonna layer. Actually, there's an orange tree that came with this property that I absolutely love. The oranges are like delicious, and I want to air layer a branch off of that, because I think I want to duplicate that tree and grow it again. Maybe grow it in a pot for a few years and then put it back in the ground if I have the space then, or or maybe give it as a gift.
Cool. I see everyone in the chat is talking about Java. For some reason, they must know that you love loquat trees.
Yes, loquat is my favorite fruit because it's healthy for you and they taste delicious, in my opinion. And it's beautiful. It's evergreen. And that, not to mention, I grew up eating those. So through my childhood, that's one of the fruits that I used to eat from the tree. So it brings me great memories. Mainly because it's great for your digestive system, and I just love it. So I'm going to be purchasing one more, because my new garden, if you guys haven't seen it, it's kind of like a pyramid, and I want one on each side so it can look beautiful. I'm also going to be adding my key limes. I'm going to be adding a lot of things.
I saw you had some coming up from seed. You don't want to wait on those? They're too small?
No, I could definitely add one of those. I'm not just going to put 2. I'm going to put more. So those are definitely going to go on the hillside. But I want one that's a little bit more, it's bigger, because the one I've had for the last few years, it's big. So I want it to look balanced.
Oh, okay. One that size around.
Yeah, that way they can grow evenly, throughout the years. But I am planning on getting more varieties, so I can have like a little orchard of just loquats, since they're my favorite.
Cool. I think I was watching Pete Canaris is when I realized how many varieties of loquats they have. Like here, we just have trees coming up from seed everywhere, and you can just like dig one up and plant it in your yard. But I was really surprised to see the different varieties of loquats that I don't think I have at all.
There's a lot, for sure. I like to have at least a couple of varieties to have different tastes.
Cool. So, hello everybody coming into the live stream. I see we got Miss Catherine, Miss Janice, Ivy Organics, actually, Mr. Charles stopping by to see one of his good friends, Garden Love. I actually see you like about a year ago. It was a good stint where you did a lot of stuff with Ivy Organics. Kind
Yes.
of following them around to like look like some classes. I think like he was
Yes.
going through some things y'all were doing at different places. So how was that just being in that community,
It
following
was
them
it
around
was
doing stuff like
awesome because Charles knows a lot of people in the gardening community, and he had done like a class that day. So I
that?
was able to tour his garden and learn a lot from what he has going on. Him himself actually has a small garden, and he's doing a lot with it. He's growing a lot of fruit trees. That's where I learned about the passion fruit. He has several passion fruits in his garden, and
Oh,
he's really maximizing his space over there.
oh,
Yeah.
cool, cool. Let's see. Gardner Trinity, that's one of my good friends here. Let me see if anybody else I know. Travel Nurse, Miss Fatima, Cream of the Crop. Mr. Brian, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate the support to the channel. Someone asked, did the acres have a well, septic system, and water on it?
Uh-huh.
The property you bought.
So this property is about 4 acres. Unfortunately, it does not have a well. That is something that I wanted to have on my property. But from the research that I was doing, you can either have a well or you can have the city water. You cannot have both, unfortunately, because they say that it is going to be cross-contaminated. I'm not sure how
Mhm.
or why that would be true. I like to have a well just to water my edible landscape because it is my goal to cover most of my hillsides with some fruit trees and some vegetables and a lot of color in it. So it would be nice, but unfortunately, I do not have a well. I did find out by the original owners of this property that there's a water stream that runs through below our property. So I think if we ever needed to, we can definitely
Try to
dig,
access it.
yeah, get some water into it. There was another question that came with that. Septic, it does come with the septic tank, and we do have gas, regular city gas. So it came with just septic. That's about the only thing that this property, didn't have that the city could
Okay.
provide.
Miss Roots to a Garden says, "Hi, Garden Love." I'm sure some of these people are probably from your channel because some of them I've never seen before. Um, let's talk about family involvement.
Mhm.
Here, as you see on our channel, I don't push my children to do a lot in the garden. Most of my support comes from Belvs, of course, and my neighbor across the street. But as
Mhm.
far as family involvement, just watching your channel with those containers, a person that's a YouTuber can tell a lot of those containers are heavy. Like I noticed that I can't move that stuff by itself. But in
Yeah.
a lot of your earlier videos, it was just you in the
Yeah.
videos. But now we're starting to see more of your husband. So can you
Yeah.
talk about that as more as how much he's kind of supporting you more and more, even more and more as you've gotten this more land
Right.
to grow in?
So my husband, just to say, he's not into gardening as much as I am, but
Mm.
he is into supporting me. He's been supported through all the years, through all my ventures, everything that I've always wanted to learn or do. He's been super supportive, and this happens to be one of them. He knows how passionate I am. He knows the peace that brings me by doing it, and
Mhm.
he's super supported. I think with the pandemic, he realized how important this plays in our lives and how beneficial it can be, not only for us, but our extended family, if we can grow a garden as big as what we're trying to grow. And I think my family members who came are supportive also because they see, the benefits of it. But they've always been super supportive, and I think the main reason why they came is to be supportive of me and help me. They know that throughout the time, if need be, we're here for them, and anything that grows out of here, just like it's mine, is theirs.
Mhm.
So I do have a good network of support where if we need help, whatever it is, moving, making something, they all come through. So I'm truly blessed in that aspect. My husband, like I mentioned, it's mainly because he wants to make me happy and, be supportive of this. So sometimes he might not want to do something, but he does it for me, and I'm truly blessed to have that. And
Love is in the air.
yeah,
I
a
guess
little,
your kids actually was out on a
yeah,
few videos now, even a little bit more. I was like,
yeah.
he has an older daughter and stuff, so that was good to see everybody out.
They were all out there helping. So it was very nice because I definitely couldn't have done all of this without them.
Yeah,
It's just, a vision is just a vision without, the support and help that you can get from family and friends. So I was very
I think that's something because we titled the live stream "Finding Land to Build a Future On." I think that's what you just said right there is so important because we get a lot of people coming to the channels asking about land. Like, do you have any land out there? Oh, I need 10 acres, and I'm on 3 acres. Like, man, like all my kids are like young, so I don't have like men and a lot of help and stuff. And
Yeah,
it is hard work.
it
So
is a lot of work. I have to agree with you on that one. Like the last few months that we've been here, I can't even tell you. Most of our time we are outside. My husband and I. He had a wood shop, so we were very happy that the property came with that.
yeah.
So he's never been a handyman, but the last few months he's been spending his whole day out there because he's been building things. He's been, looking at things on
Living
the
the dream, living it up.
he created he built my daughter a floating bed and a floating desk. So
Wow.
just from watching a video and learning how to use the equipment that we have in there, and it's just been amazing because what would you do during those days? Like just be on the couch or go out and spend money, Now you're learning a skill, and I tell my kids and I share this with everybody, skills are priceless. Like skills, no one can take that from you, no matter what, no matter if you go broke, no matter if you lose your house, no matter what happens in life, you having a skill and learning that is priceless because you can use that skill and use it and dig yourself out of a hole that you may have been unintentionally or something went wrong, or just skills are so important. And I tell my kids, like, if you're home, learn a skill because no one can take that from you and you might use it one day. And that's what my husband's doing. He's taking his free time and learning how to do something, and he would have never gotten into wood shop if it wasn't because of the homestead that we now have. The space that we're working with, where he's sometimes out there late at night. I go out there and I give him my 2 cents about my starting since he's learning and I'm learning too. I'm like, hey, did you think about adding the inches for the piece of wood that you're adding to? And he's like, oh, I didn't think about that. So we work as a team and we're both learning as we're going. So.
Did y'all put the little lights around the floating bed? I watched a lot of those little floating bed videos too, but I never tried it yet.
Yeah, she did. She put the lights and she put the lights
no,
under
that's
the
beautiful.
So it's pretty awesome. I feel like when you get a little piece of land, it teaches you more than you would in just a regular, home, because you have the space to do something with and work with. So the land brings you more than what you really think you're getting out of.
Okay. Miss Kate Harris says, I'm just coming on. Who is this? Do I need to call Bevs? No, this is Miss Diana. Bevs is already here. Bevs is here. She already talked to Miss D. So, and she's just talking about her husband. So she's married. I'm married. We're just two gardeners. So for people that's thinking that way, make sure y'all put your questions in all caps because it's hard for me to decipher if y'all just talking to each other or if it's something that y'all want to talk to Miss Diana about. Someone asked, how long will a loquat tree take to fruit from seed? I'm gonna say about 5 years.
Yeah, I want to say that the tree I purchased it maybe about 4 to 5 years, and I didn't realize at the time because I was just starting to buy fruit trees that it was a seedling. until later on, I actually went back to the guy that I purchased it. He's like, yeah, those were seedlings. And I was very disappointed in that very year. So I don't know if you remember that very year it started flowering and started producing fruit. So it took about I want to say like 4 to 5 years to actually start fruiting from a seedling. So
yeah. I was actually, this was our first year that we were supposed to get fruit. So the tree that we have in our orchard is from seed. So we've been patient. Belle's planted it from seed. This year it actually, hold on. At our last property, we planted that tree. It fruited last year. So I told Bells, I was like, that tree just fruited. We got some fruit off of it. And this one was a year behind that one. And the cold came. And I mean, like all the trees around the surrounding area where we are, it just got so cold that February is like when our trees actually are holding the fruit.
yes.
And so everything just got frozen off. So it's okay because I think the tree still can, as long as the tree is alive, it's good. Like the roots are growing still.
Yes, definitely. So it works out. I actually see a question here that I kind of want to
Go ahead.
Want to talk about. Let's see here. Is Cherise, I believe. She said, I want to grow more, but my husband said I need a privacy fence.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody mentioned down here, like, yes, you can do a privacy fence with an edible. So in my old property, I had very limited space, and there was a fence dividing our properties between my neighbor and myself. And it wasn't as, I think it was like, maybe the fence would come up to here. So whoever was walking next door can still look over to my side of the property. And I kind of didn't like that. So what I ended up doing is putting a trellis. So I put these pieces of wood, those big blocks pieces of wood, every couple feet, and then I drilled a hole through that and put like a metal wiring, which became a trellis, and I ended up growing my passion fruit through that, and it created a huge passion fruit privacy wall. So it, I was able to grow the passion fruit, which was an edible, something lush and green that was beautiful, and it created privacy between my neighbor and myself. So you can definitely do a passion fruit and still grow something. So if you are looking into that, I highly recommend to grow a vine that provides some fruit.
Also,
primarily a vine that's evergreen, because then you'll have the privacy year round.
with to segue into that, because I'm thinking, since you brought that passion fruit up, I could only remember that faithful video. I felt your pain. And this is one of the things about having neighbors when you're living in the city, as opposed to getting a little bit out where you got a little space to kind of spread your wings.
Yes.
Talk about that when you just talked about that good privacy fence, but talk about when you got a neighbor that's not really into gardening and they really don't know how to trim.
So there was a couple of things happening there. So the neighbor, I don't think he knew much about fruit trees or wanted them, because he did tell me when we first moved in there that he removed some fruit trees from his backyard because he didn't want them. And I was like, oh, I wish I would have known. I would have, taken them from you. And then I'm sorry, what was your question again? Now I got sidetracked.
Well, just to talk about the neighbor issues about growing food and having neighbors, and how he just like cut this thing, like butchered it.
So he, like I mentioned, he didn't really like fruit trees from what it seemed like. And like I said, this vine created a perfect privacy wall. So it was really hard for him to look over our fence and see what I was doing. It was a little awkward sometimes when I was recording and I could see them passing by. So at the end of our stay in that property, maybe a month before we were actually moving, or 2 months before, he asked if he can have his trimming or their gardener trim my vine. And I said, yes. So what I'm thinking is, you have the vine growing along the fence, and there's some vines that were coming out, reaching out for the next wall. I'm thinking he was going to cut all the vines that were coming towards his wall.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of cutting just the vines that were reaching out towards the next wall, he went ahead and cut the main vines, which, those main vines were actually feeding the rest of the vines that were trellising throughout the fence. And he butchered the thing out of my passion fruit. I don't know if he didn't realize that the vines were connecting with each other and they were feeding off of each other, but he literally cut it down to where the trunk was, and pretty much my whole privacy fence was gone.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
That,
if that was intentional or he really didn't know what
I
he was
don't know. That kind of had me like, oh, there's no way you could do nothing like that
doing.
to a tree like that, you know.
Mhm.
And then you was like just starting to get like the passion fruits, like the fruit and
Yeah,
stuff. Ah, I was like, that's one
there
of
were
my
tons
favorites.
of
We try to get
flowers,
there.
tons of baby fruit on it. Oh my God. I was so sad. The only thing that made me like calm down was I knew we were moving within a month or two. So I was
Oh,
like, okay, that's the only reason why I was kind of calm during that video, because I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to be moving. Maybe he knows we're moving and he's like trying to get rid of this privacy wall before the new owners come. I don't know, but I don't know.
yeah, that was bad. But like you say, what would you have done anyway? Moving, you know,
Yeah.
maybe you could have took. I've seen people like dig them up and like cut them all the way down and dig them up
Yeah.
and move them like that. But that was still a bummer.
It was
Uh,
sad. I was so sad for sure.
so talking about that, you say you kind of knew you was leaving within a month. Can you if you can tell us um, how long did you stay or how long were you staying in the city before you started getting that urge to want to get out into the countryside?
Mhm. So I feel like that urge came over the last 2 years.
Hmm.
And I've been living in the suburbs, in the city for my whole life prior to that. And the last 2 years, maybe a year after I started gardening here with you guys on YouTube, is when I really was like, I want some more space to grow more things, because I can only fit so much in my little tiny backyard. Even though I was being successful in growing fruit trees and getting fruit out of it, I felt like there was more. And right when this whole incident that happened
Hmm.
last year is really when I felt like this this is not okay. I felt like yes, we live in a good area and yes, we have a house, but if things get worse, what's going to happen? This small yard is not really going to provide for us. So I was thinking a little bit on that spectrum, and um, I was a little concerned. So I think that's what really pushed me over the edge and kind of helped me convince my husband. But he loves land. Like, he always wanted to get land, but he always felt like it was work, and he was,
Yeah.
how we were going to benefit from it. And I feel like that's really what helped us push us into that direction and see all the benefits that land really provide for your family.
So
Even if
more
nothing happens, you still
so
benefit
got the land.
in
Yeah.
so many ways.
So more so it was as far as you were already longing for
Yes.
getting a little bit more space because your
Yes.
garden was steady growing. I was watching. You was like, I don't know, guys. Where can I put something else? There's no more space for me to put nothing. But
Yeah.
as far as your husband, you saying that it was more so the way the virus and stuff came
Yeah.
around that kind of got him more out there.
Yes, because I have to say we were really blessed to have a nice home. It was a good size.
Hmm.
We were close to his family, and there was really no complaints as far as where we were living, and even the backyard. I mean, it was small, but it was still backyard. So we're really blessed. Like, there was no complaints in that aspect. So there, for him, there was really no reason to get land. For me, it was my desire and my passion that drove me to want to have land. And then when everything happened, we were able to see more benefits from getting land in many ways. I mean, think about it. If you get land, you can grow your own fruit, you can grow your own vegetables. Family needs to come by. They can bring their RV and stay in your property.
Wow.
You
Wow.
guys can have large gatherings. Anything happens, that's the place where you guys can buckle down and stick together and work together, especially if you have the foundation set up, like you have chickens and you have fruit trees and you have vegetables, you have a greenhouse. Even if it's a small greenhouse, you can start growing your seedlings from there. If you get any other animals that eventually you can eat, like if you have cows, I mean, that can be in the long run, which we're considering. But if you start setting up your foundation, if things happen, you have something to fall into. And my husband is the oldest of his group of brothers, so he always feels the responsibility of like being able to help out,
Yeah.
and that having land will provide that in case something happens.
Something happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I watched your first video, so this has been about 3-4 months, right? About 4 months since you've been.
Yes, we moved here in November, so it's
Okay. So you
been,
kind of start vlogging it a little bit more in the
yeah.
last 4 months or so. Okay.
Mhm.
One thing I did notice, because when you was talking about people bringing in RVs, I can't do any of this. What you can do. I saw that 18-wheeler. Remember when y'all was doing something where the 18-wheeler had to like come down the side of the house,
Oh yes,
dropping off that container? Was it the shipping
yes. They dropped. I had two occasions. One, they dropped off all the dirt lockers that we installed,
container?
and then two, we had a huge truck drop off soil from a soil company. So they came in twice, and they were as tall as my oak trees. There's a lot of oak trees here,
Mhm.
and they were driving through. There's a back flat ground over here, and they just turn around there and come back down the driveway. So yes,
So that's amazing.
yeah. So there's plenty of space here, that's for sure.
Someone asked, let me get back up there to it. Thank you, Miss Travel Nurse Prepper, for the super chat. She says, I can't wait to have my own issues on my land. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. Someone asked, Miss Jeannie asked, how much land do you each have?
So I have 4 acres, just a little shy of 4 acres.
Okay, so mine's is 3 acres, so 2.97.
Uh-huh.
So Miss God Loves has all that good land, a whole extra acre of land. Bringing into what Miss if I can go back to hers just quick. And we kind of talked about this before the live stream. She says, I can't wait to have my own issues on my land, on my own land. Let's talk about, so we talked about the neighbor issues.
Yes.
And we kind of talked about, let's talk about pest, animal issues, climate issues, if you can. Just the difference between where you were and where you are now. Are you seeing any more issues than you had at your last property?
Like I was mentioning to you earlier, we are a few miles away from where I used to live.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, just those few miles make a huge difference as far as the microclimate and the, I guess, pests that you're dealing with. We have gophers here. So that is an issue that I'm going to constantly start fighting with. I created some cages for some of the fruit trees that are going in the ground. So that's hopefully will prevent the gophers getting to the roots. I also, when I install my dirt locker garden on the hillside, I put the galvanized chicken wire, but the holes are very small, so they won't be able to get through, because even though you put chicken wiring, chicken wires are usually about that big, so
Yeah.
they can squeeze through there and get to all your vegetable that you are growing. So I just noticed that rocking chair was rocking in it. I'm like, that's kind of creepy, but it's the
I see it.
Sorry. So
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
what I'm doing to protect my everything I'm growing is using that galvanized mesh wherever it is that I am growing. Also, we dug up a huge trench because I wanted irrigation up there, so I didn't have to use 4 hours to water this huge hillside. So we set up irrigation, and before we put the soil back into the trench, I put the galvanized wiring from the very top all the way to the bottom of the hill. So hopefully that would also discourage some gophers going through. And I'm just trying to set up layers of, preventative work before the gophers get to. So I'm trying to set it up to where I'm protecting it, not trying to fix the issues. So
Yes, ma'am.
hopefully that helps, because the that's definitely going to be an issue if I'm growing, like, my tomatoes or whatever it is, and then I come out and there's no roots
Yeah. Oh,
in my vegetables. And as far as the microclimate, it is different. When it's cooler here. So if let's say it's 59 over here, it's going to be like 49, and it's only a few miles away from where I used to live. I don't know if it has to do with all of the homes being close together that
Yeah.
creates more heat. That's, condensed heat, and it's kind of
Like
sealed
concrete.
houses.
They say that the like more concrete driveways just
Yeah,
holds that heat a
yeah.
little bit more.
Probably it's probably what it is. And here it's like you don't have a lot of concrete. Most of it is just dirt. So uh, there's not as much. The temperature is different. So over there would be, like I said, 59. Over here is 49. And when it's hot, it's actually warmer here. The one benefit that I do have to say that we're very lucky is that we have huge oak trees here. So my whole house is shaded, and it's actually cooler inside the house than it is normally. Like in the winter, the temperatures were really cool. I'm like, oh my god, this place is cold. I wasn't used to it because
Yeah,
the other property.
please.
But come summer, the house is going to be cool, and we're going to enjoy the benefits of
Yeah,
the.
good sitting under those old oak trees.
Yes, it makes a huge difference. So the microclimate changes from below under an oak tree, and then nothing shading it. So
That's
there is a difference, even though we're only a few miles away.
cool. So y'all don't forget, please, if you can right now, take a little time out and go subscribe to Garden Love's channel. It's Garden Love's Homestead. I do have the link to her channel at the top in the comment box. Let's talk about since you just mentioned the oak trees,
Uh-huh.
let's talk about buying land, and I kind of talked with you about this a little bit earlier. Buying land from somebody that was already like-minded, that was already a little bit like of a growing type. To be blessed to have somebody growing food and fruit, and then selling that property, and you kind of being, you know, being
Yes.
the one that gets all of this stuff that you didn't have to plant, even though you have your own. You didn't have to plant some of these trees, and you could just walk into a property basically harvesting fruit. If you
Yeah.
can talk about the feeling.
It's definitely a blessing to be able to, go to a mature tree and already get a harvest out of it. So there's been, from what I learned, there's been like 3 to 4 prior owners of this property. The previous owner, I don't think installed these trees. I think it was the owner prior to that, and they installed irrigation. They installed the trees that we have here, and what he did throughout the years that he had it for, which is I think was 3 to 4 years, he maintained it. So I definitely think that some of these trees need a little TLC, some little garden love, and I think they will be producing a lot better once we give it a little love and care, because there's only one tree that's producing amazing fruit. There's a few stone trees that I still don't know what kind of fruit it is, because they're just waking up since I purchased the property when it was winter. But the other trees, I can tell that definitely need a little care and love. But I'm super excited that they were here. I mean, they have to be at least 10 years old. And I want to say those trees were installed from the original person who built this property, which was back in, I think, 83. I think 83 were the original persons who built this property, and they're the ones who installed this tree. So some of those trees might be 20 years old,
Oh,
because they're pretty well established and producing fruit. So it's a big benefit. I mean, you have to wait another 20 years before you can, install trees and get that
that kind of
harvest.
production.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
I don't know. Somebody's at my door. Can you answer this question for us? Somebody
yeah.
said, "What do you all do with your lemon trees in the winter, and are they in container or in the ground?" Give me a second.
So for me, since I live in sunny California and there's not extreme weathers other than the super hot heat, you can do both. You can either put them in the ground if you have the space, or you can put them in containers. Up until this November, I didn't have the space, so I was growing all my citrus trees in containers, and they were great. What I mentioned, I'll tell you guys a few tips about growing fruit trees in containers. So I mentioned this in every video. The only resource that's available for your fruit trees in containers is you. You're the only person who can fertilize it, who can water it, who can amend it, who can put mulch on it. And if you have it in the ground, then the tree will find resources. It will dig his roots down into the earth and try to find some water when it's thirsty. There's natural mulch by the leaves falling. Fertilizers. It sits in the soil. It doesn't get drained out of the container that you're growing it in. So when you're growing in container, there's a lot of things you have to keep in mind. For example, fertilizing. I usually fertilize any fruit trees in containers every 6 weeks, because you got to think about it. You're watering it often. Some of that fertilizer is not, the tree is really not benefiting from it, because some of it is being washed out through the drain, and you don't want to have a fruit tree sitting on water. You want to make sure that it has very, very well drain holes, and it's draining really well, because the fruit citrus hate sitting in water. They like their soil to be a little moist, but they don't necessarily want to be soaked in water. So that's very important. I also, it's very important that since it's only in a container, that means that the water is going to drain out faster, it's going to dry out sooner. You want to make sure that it has mulch. Mulch is so important in the hot season, that when you're growing fruit trees in containers, because your little feeder roots that are right below the top layer soil, you want to make sure those don't dry out. That's usually the biggest cause, in my opinion, from my experience, why your blooms fall off and why your fruit fall off, and there's no fruit on your tree at the mid-season, when you're thinking, oh, the fruit should be growing, and it really isn't. It's falling off. So mulch makes a huge difference when it comes to growing fruit trees in containers. And watering, you want to make sure that you're watering often. You want to make, sometimes, if it all depends, I have some videos about this. It all depends. If your tree is a mature tree and most of the roots are filling that container, then you're going to have to water very often when it comes to the hot season, sometimes even once or twice a day. If it's root bound, that means that there's not a lot of soil left in there. In that case, I would pull it out, shake out some soil, maybe cut a little bit of the roots, and add some new fresh soil. That way more there's more soil, and then there is roots, or at least 50-50, and that way your tree can continue to thrive and grow in that same container. You usually after a few weeks that it's been in that container, or once it's gone into its mass, the biggest it's going to get, and you're not going to up pot it to a bigger pot, then I would do that again, like every other year, to give your fruit tree a fresh start, because it can't be in the same container for its lifetime over the courses of 10 years, and you haven't added new soil and any amendments to the soil, and it can't just live off of its own roots. It needs something to feed off of. So that's why you have to, even though you're going to put it in the same container, up pot it, like not up pot it, you can take it out, root prune, put some new soil, and continue to let it grow in that container. So there's a lot of tips when it comes to growing in fruit trees in containers. So I think I gave you guys a lot right now.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. Guy, actually, I guess we can talk about this, because this is what's happening now. And I actually did a video with Bells today. So if you've been following us, we're trying to pay this property off. And I talked to you about it earlier, and I'm gonna see, let me get it out of here and put it in it's already open already. Let me get this out of here, because I wanted to share this with everyone. And I believe this is a guy is coming, actually picking up our car now. And this video, I believe, I don't know if I have it or not, but we was talking about, oh, it's at the beginning, it's at the top, it's the video that's at the top of the comments, and talking about when you were getting ready to move to your property and you had to sell this dream car. So right now a guy is outside that's taking away, if you've seen that gray truck that be in a lot of my videos with the little chrome wheels on it. So I actually just sold it today,
Oh, wow.
And so you could only imagine how I was feeling out there. Like I don't really want it to go, but
Yeah.
it is going. So I'm trying to do a video about it. But it was kind of inspired by watching what you did in that video you did with that Bronco. If you can talk to our subscribers and potentially some new subscribers of yours, people that's about to go kind of subscribe to your channel today, just to tell them, like, you can't get something for nothing. Like
Right.
if you wanna reach the next level, then sometimes you gotta give something up. So
Yeah.
if you can talk to us about that, what that felt like, just what was going through your mind when you had to give up that dream car of yours.
So I think for every accomplishment that any of us get to, I feel like there's sacrifices one way or another. Like either your family are helping you take care of your kid, or they're helping you pay for something, or you're having to give something up to learn something else. You know, there's always sacrifice involved in any goals that you usually put your mind to.
Mhm.
And getting property was a huge goal and a dream of mine. And we feel that now that it is also a necessity with the way things are going. I think it's very important. I had a Bronco.
Mhm.
My Bronco was my dream car since I was in high school. I would always walk by this car dealer and they would restore Broncos, and I loved it. I would say, Broncos are amazing. One day I'm going to get one. And my husband found one and he purchased it for me as a gift. So it was my dream car. I was so happy to have it. But when this dream came, when we decided to move from, you know, houses that were basically right next to each other, to a property that had land, some things came up where we needed to come up with some more money to put as a down payment for this property, because just it didn't appraise at the time, and the guy who purchased it before, who owned it, had put so much money into redoing certain things of the property that he wasn't willing to sell it for less. This was our dream property, because for years we actually had been driving through this canyon and we would see this property. We never in a million years ever thought that we would own it. And when it came to the market, we were just blown away. So we were like, it's either we go all in and we figure out how to do it or not. So the realtors met us halfway, but we still needed to come up with some money. And we had two cars that we can sell. They had already been paid off, and we're like, okay, so let's try selling them. And there goes one my dream. But it was okay, because it was a sacrifice that I was doing for our family and to set up a foundation for the future. So I was okay with letting go of that dream. And that I just feel like it's important to understand that we all have to make sacrifices to get somewhere. Like if it means saving up for a down payment, not eating out, or if it means, not having that expensive purse or that expensive makeup, those are the little steps that, no matter how small they seem, they're going to add up to something bigger in the future. And I truly believe in that. You mentioned that you are a fan of Dave Ramsey. I actually
Mhm.
have been a fan of Dave Ramsey for the past few years. I believe in not being in debt, other than we are only with our house loan, but anything else, we don't have car loans, and we don't have credit cards, and I don't believe in any debt. So that's why it was so important to sell the Bronco, so that way, we can put as much as possible and really make this dream come true. Um, so I don't know how some of these financial skills that I have, I got them from my mother and my husband. For a long period of time, because we've been married 19 years, for a long period of time, he wasn't on board with certain things that I wanted to implement in our finances, until Dave Ramsey came into my life. And I was
Wow.
able to play one of his audio, because I started listening to him before he went on YouTube. One of his audio, and I was like, "Hey, listen to what this guy has to say. It's good to be out of debt and buy everything cash and save up and build up for it." And he started listening, and then he started like, "Okay, yeah, I see this. Like, I can see how this works." And I was like, "Yes." I found a way to get him to listen, even though he
Yeah.
had listened to me over the last few years, but finally found a way to to get him to see where I was coming from. And like I said, I don't know how, but since I was like 18, like I already knew like not to be in debt. I knew how to. I don't know how I learned a lot of these things on my own,
Hmm.
but I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey as well.
Cool. So I think what we're talking about is for people that's looking for land,
Mm-hmm.
try not to. I don't want to say because I don't want to discourage nobody, but just take into consideration
Mm-hmm.
that the grass does grow. There are things that are needed to have. The more land you look for, the
Yeah,
more help. The more help eventually you're gonna kind of need.
yeah.
So when people that are thinking about buying land, and I think this is a good question somebody asked. I didn't go through a realtor when I got this property. I kind of contacted the homeowners directly. But can you tell us about your your
So
land buying process?
here in California, it's very hard to not go through a realtor when it comes to buying property. Maybe if you're buying a lot without anything in it or on it, like no structures, you won't have to go through a realtor. You can use their realtor to
Uh,
run the whole transaction. But just about any property here in California that has a structure and has a home, it requires a realtor. Even if you don't have a realtor and you go to the person who's selling it, their realtor can, or their business can find a realtor to do the transaction, because the way they see it here, unfortunately, is, well, it's kind of good and it's bad that, let's see how to explain it. The realtor is looking for your best interest, and they're
mm,
going to do all the legworks to make sure that nothing's wrong with the property, everything's disclosed, and that's how you prevent issues in the future. And if something's wrong, then you can go back to that realtor and say, hey, this wasn't disclosed, or you know so here, I would say 99% of the time you're using a realtor to buy property. Now, finding a good realtor is important. We were fortunate enough that a family friend of ours, that she's been in our, family friends for a long time, that she's very plugged into this community. So she was able to let us see this property before it even went on the market. They
okay.
accepted our offer before it got, released to the market. So here in California, I think having a good realtor is what's going to help you get the property that you're looking for sure.
Thanks for the super chat, Mr. Travis. Miss Kim Stage 52, really appreciate the support. She asked, how do I fertilize my lemon and lime trees? They are small trees. Thank you.
So,
What's your favorite fertilizer?
so I use two that are my favorite. Ivy Organic, because it really has everything in there that a tree, needs, and I love EB Stone fertilizer. I know you guys in the East Coast don't have
Yeah,
EB
I don't even see
Stone.
half of that stuff you have down here. I'll be like, where did they get? And then you get on like Amazon, that stuff is like a 5 pound bag, like
Yeah.
$40. I'm like, I
Yes,
can't buy that.
it can get expensive. Besides those two products in the market, my favorite thing to fertilize it with is some natural compost, something that you can make at home, and some worm castings that you can also make at home. Those are like fantastic for any citrus, any fruit trees, even if it's not an edible tree. Any tree can benefit from the compost and worm castings, and you can make that at home. I have both of those growing here, going here. You
Hmm.
can sometimes order a package of worms and then start having your own. You can get a plastic container, drill holes on it, and have put a bedding as like some soil, and then start adding like all your waste from your kitchen, like vegetables and stuff, no like meats or dairies, and just start mixing it. Put a lid on it, put it, mix it, and then you can harvest your own compost. Your own worm castings, and then you can have a compost bin, which is pretty much the same thing, just a larger scale and a smaller scale. Yeah.
Cool. Gardner Trinity says financial freedom is a great thing. So that's real. Miss Tommy at Tommy's Homestead Garden says, yes, the repairs and maintenance, but we were able to find someone who was selling their own property for cheap, 10 acres. I wish I could be there now, but we're saving and trying not to go into more debt. So I think that's just take your time. I always say patience with buying any kind of Oh, look, Miss Wanda. Hey, Miss Wanda. So that's Miss Wanda from Crazy Days. Everybody knows that's her channel. She has a Deep South Homestead. Her and Mr. Danny. So this is her channel. So hey, Miss Wanda, how you doing? Thanks for the support. I think I was blessed, and I try to tell my story about how cheap um, I got the land, but you can't do that all the time. It's very rare. And then I'm in Louisiana, right? I know from just listening to people how California real estate can get expensive,
Yeah.
uh, which is something I know I couldn't afford to live out there. I'm like I love being a little Louisiana guy. How much? How much? I remember, not to talk too personal, but how was it when I'm gonna need to sign that when you were I remember times when I was used to watching you like every other day, and then you would disappear, and then you would come back and you'd be like, "Guys, I've been working really hard, this and that." Like how was that absence, taking those large gaps of absences? Because that's something I've been doing right now, trying to pay off this house. Is I've been doing less videos and more working. Um,
Mm.
how do you balance that, going to work and then trying to still be a YouTuber, full time, doing full time YouTubing?
So YouTubing and growing everything I'm growing here is truly my passion. So it's what distresses me, is what I enjoy. I love connecting with all the comments. I just love connecting with other gardeners such as yourself. So I go to work, come home, take care of things that I need to take care of in the house. And then once I'm done with that, I move on to, my passion and go out there and grow. I get my kids involved and say my daughter. So my kid, only the little one was really into the gardening with me, but the other two
Mhm.
weren't. They weren't just like dirt and all of that. They're like, I'm not having it. But my oldest daughter told me, I love flowers. Her name is Violet, and she loves the color purple because of her name. So
Oh,
she recently, well, she's always loved flowers, and she says, I love flowers. I want to grow some that are purple, different shades. So I ordered her a whole bunch of seeds, and we're gonna try to grow them here on this edible landscape to add for the pollinators, and also to add a splash of color. And I'm getting her involved with that. So just trying to get the kids and the family involved, so when I am outside, it's kind of like family time. And when I can't get to things because I have to go to work and do the laundry and do the cleaning sometimes and cook or whatever it is that we have going on, then I just tell myself I can't get to it. I'm going to get to it when I get to it. That's not what matters most. Family is what matters most, and we're doing that because of the family, not the other way around. So I just try to
mhm.
get to whatever I'm going to get to when I get a chance to. And there was a lot of work involved when I installed this raised bed garden on the hillside. So that's the reason why I was kind of like missing in action, because literally from the minute I was up and the sun was out till the afternoon when the sun was down, we were out there hauling soil. And that was the biggest task, getting the soil up the hill onto the dirt lockers and
Wow.
getting ready to plant in. So it's been a challenge installing it, only because of the labor. But now that it's there, the irrigation set up, I just need to start adding plants. So just try to balance it and
That
focus.
was that was really, it was really amazing to see that thing when you how you click the dirt lockers together. And
Uh-huh.
I was saying to myself when I was watching the video, if y'all don't know this video, go to Miss Garden Love's channel. And it was the last video, right?
Yeah, I just posted it, I think, yesterday.
Yeah. So the most recent video, just check this video out. I was trying to figure out. I'm like I remember seeing all of those cascading, like in Sicily and Italy, like those type
Yeah.
gardens, which is how it kind of looks. And so I saw the thumbnail, and when I saw you locking the things together, I'm like, okay, but that's plastic. Like, how is it gonna hold the dirt onto the hillside? And it
Uh-huh.
wasn't until the whole family start pulling it, like when you start to pull it up the hillside and it starts to open up and kind of lay out, was when I was like, oh wow, like that's it was so cool to see. Like how much did something like that cost? I think you said it was 200 little panels.
Oh,
Was
it was so no, it was 200 of the first layer, and then the lower layer. Once we added everything, was about 600 dirt lockers all together. So honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have the math behind the cost because the dirt lockers and I partner up in doing this project.
Oh,
We
okay.
provided
So it
the
was like a sponsor type deal.
Yeah, I guess you can call
Something like.
it. Yeah, they provided the dirt lockers, and we shot a few videos, and they shot a few videos. So if you're interested in knowing more about it, they
Oh,
have a YouTube channel. They just started it maybe a few months ago, and they can explain a little bit more about how the
oh,
dirt
that's good.
lockers actually work. Let them know I sent you. and
Okay.
but yeah, but I can tell you this, that it would be it would if you were to do a project like this, it would be a lot cheaper than getting a contractor, than doing retention walls, using heavy equipment. This is kind of like a DIY, other than um, the irrigation that we did pay someone to come and do the trench. I mean, we could have done the trench ourselves, but it would have taken us days when it took them only like a day and a half to do the ginormous trench they had to dig to put irrigation. So that's about the only thing that we really paid for as far as this project.
Okay.
So
So
yes.
that's basically why you got more family. Because I think I'm not sure. I remember doing like when y'all was doing like the little cleanup at the
Uh-huh.
property with the
With the
what's this
blower
thing?
and stuff.
No, with the I think it was a more, but
Oh, the pressure washer.
yeah, with the pressure wash.
Yes.
I should know that. Oh my gosh, I just couldn't think of it. But I saw it, like that's when I first. I think it might have been one of the times when I saw it, like one of your other kids. And but this time, I think this is the video where I've seen the most people out there.
Yeah.
Like when I was moving a bucket up the hill, I
Yeah,
was like, man, y'all really had a chain going,
we
which
did.
was cool to see.
We definitely couldn't have done this project without them. I mean, and if we would have done it, it would have taken us a lot, triple the amount of time that it's taken us so far. It's been the whole installation of the containers was only a day or two, but it was the soil that we had to haul up into every single container. And like I mentioned, there's 600 of them, so every container took about 3 to 4 buckets of soil. So you
Wow.
can just imagine how many times we had to climb that hill and really, add all the soil there. Yeah.
Cool, cool. So don't forget, guys. We just about at our hour, a little bit over our hour range. Don't forget, guys, that I got her name everywhere. Her name is by her picture. Her name is at the bottom of the screen. I'm asking that you guys would please, please, please go and check out Miss Garden Love's channel. Even if you're a small space gardener, she still has stuff in containers, right? Because she started YouTube in
Yes.
that beautiful small space that she had. But now you can kind of get to transition with her. For people that are in small spaces and you're looking to get that acreage, then you can kind of also
Mhm.
follow her channel to see how some of her containers, she's ready to start putting those in the ground. She's been putting some in the ground. So just following that process of going from small to a nice size homestead. When we got here, we only had one raised bed and 3 chickens.
Mhm.
So it was easier for us to just think big because it was like we just had a blank slate everywhere
Yeah.
around us. So to see you being blessed with that kind of acreage is a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that you're a YouTuber, that you're sharing that with the world.
It's
Um,
definitely a blessing.
yeah, so let me see. We got it. I think we answered all the questions. I didn't see much else in. Um, Yeah, so we answered all of that. Thanks, Miss Janice, for the super chat. Is there anything else you want to share with everybody, Miss Diana? I know you have. Um, uh, Miss Diana actually speaks Spanish. She actually does have a Spanish channel. We was kind of talking about it as well. So
Yeah.
if you're trying to learn Spanish and just looking for other channels to kind of listen to, can you tell us the name of that channel? or type it or text it in the comment box.
I'll put it in the comments down below. But I did start a Spanish channel. However, I do have to do a disclaimer. A couple things, since we just moved and we have so many projects here, I haven't posted many videos because
Mhm.
I'm taking care of my English channel first. And but I will be translating a lot of my videos and put them in my channel. Also, since I came here when I was 5 and 6, my Spanish is good but not perfect. So if you hear something that's not proper, it's okay. Just let me know the proper way. I appreciate the feedback. I can learn and grow from it.
Cool, cool. So, but for the most part, the most active channel that you have is this channel right here, and we love to. My thing is, I just want to. It's kind of, I was listening to a Leia Former video a while ago.
Yes.
It's kind of liking YouTube to Walmart, right? And so recently, what I've been trying to do is because you see channels that should be way more out into the forefront than most, and it's hard when YouTube kind of chooses who they send to the next subscriber or not. So this was a way for me personally to try to just get more eyes on good content, good family content. Like I say, I love the way that ever since I've been watching, you've never changed.
Mhm.
Like I say, we kind of came in around the same time as far as YouTubing. My air layering, I kind of put it to you as far as learning how to air layer. When I saw you do it, I was like, hold on. If this little pretty lady down in California could do this, I know I can do it. So
Yeah.
me and
For
Bells got out there cutting on our fig tree. We actually did the
yeah.
fig tree first, and it worked. And we still have those air layers today, and we started some more this year. So you've been inspirational to me, and I would do you injustice not to share you with the rest of the people that subscribe to my channel.
Thank
Um,
you so much. I really appreciate that and all the feedback. Like you mentioned, we've been following each other since I think we both started. You started around the same year.
yeah, 2017.
It's been amazing to see you guys go like you said, going from a few raised beds to one or two to now you have a complete food forest. I mean, you guys
Yeah,
have a ton of fruit trees, tons of raised beds, and I love how you're getting other people involved and other channels. I know you visited other people to their homestead, and I love seeing that because that is one of my favorite things when communities come together and gardeners come together. I'm gonna share a little story with you guys. So my daughter and I went on a hike in the canyon here, and I had already driven by this area because there was a horse that looked like the cartoon Spirit. So I wanted to show my daughter, hey, there's a horse here that looks like that cartoon Spirit. Let's go look at it. And I also told her there's a garden here that I really want to see. Dad and I drove by, and I couldn't stop and walk into her property and tell her, "Can I look at your garden?" But since we were walking, I can see her at her end of her property, and I'm like waving, hoping she sees me, and I'm like, she's not seeing me. I really want to meet her because she has a beautiful garden. She maybe I can do a tour of her property. In the front of her garden, she put pallets to protect it all around from any bunnies or anything that can get onto her garden. And I was like, she is not seeing me wave at her. So you know what? I'm gonna walk into her property, and I was like, I'm sorry to interrupt, like waving, like I'm friendly. I just told her, can I look at your garden? I drove by here the other day, and I didn't like want to intrude, but I was walking with my daughter, and I really want to see your garden. And she's like, yes, come on in. And I love that because when we meet other gardeners, we're always so excited to share what we have going on, and you want to pick each other's brain because you can learn from each other, and you guys can share cuttings and plants. And like my daughter makes fun of me. She's like, you talk to anybody you want to learn from, or anybody who you're interested in. You just like, I was waving. I'm like, hey, can I come into your garden? And so I met her, and she has an amazing garden. Maybe she'll let me do a
yeah, do a
tour.
tour, YouTube tour. Cool.
Yes, and she had chickens, and she had ducks, and she had like her dogs, and it was just a very simple garden, but she was growing so much, and it was in the ground. She also said that she had gopher issues, and she showed me what she was using to protect
Uh,
her garden from it. And she also said, I let some of the gophers be there because they're actually loosening up
yeah,
soil
just
for us. So like she had a lot going on, and I was just so happy that I got to meet her and that she's only a few miles away and I can walk to her property if I decided to take a long walk. And I just love that. Like, that's my favorite thing. I get so excited to meet other gardeners and connect and network and figure out how we're going to help each other and learn from each other. So that's my favorite. I thought I had to share that story with you guys.
Cool. Beautiful, beautiful.
Lady saying hi.
So
Yes.
most of the people that come by that's looking at your garden is not crazy. So
Yeah.
some other people looking at for other stuff might be crazy, but most gardeners are real down to earth, cool people. Ms. Monique just said that gardeners are the best, greatest people on earth. I want to say thanks everybody for coming into the live stream today. I think we really had a good conversation today. I think we had a lot that people could learn from watching this live stream. And just people got a chance to see you that have never seen you. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll love your energy and they'll love what you're doing on your property out there in the great state of California. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming in. Actually, thank you for accepting our invitation to come
Of
in.
course, I was thrilled to be here. Thank you. I
Yes.
feel blessed that you thought about me and got me into your channel and done this chat. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been afraid to do the lives. I hardly ever do them because
You did an amazing job
I'm
today.
afraid to keep up with all the comments and everything. But you did. You were a great host.
Yeah, amazing job. So, one thing I like to do before my live chats is, before I end them, is just say a quick prayer. I hope you don't mind.
No,
Um,
absolutely not.
won't go that long at all. And then we'll go ahead on and you can go back to your family and everything. So I just want to stop and just say, Father, thank you for today's journey that you've given us, for those people that have been able to get out in their yards and get out on their land and do the things that give them peace, do the things that make them happy and smile. As gardeners, we know how peaceful the garden can be, and we know the work that it takes. We know the hustle. We know that we need family and we need friends to help us. Father, please put it on their hearts, put it on our spouses' hearts to be there to help us to grow um, in the garden, to help us to feed our families, to help us to feed the world. We know that there are children that pass by our gardens and pass by our yards, and we just want to motivate the next gardener in line. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for everything you've done for Miss Diana down there at her home with her husband and her children. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I pray that you would continue to bless us and that you would continue to keep us safe out here on the outskirts of these cities. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen. Amen.
That was
Amen.
wonderful. I love that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Everybody want to say bye? Y'all want to say bye to Miss Bye.
Bye.
Yes, this is my son. Say see you later.
Bye. See you later.
You want to say
You
bye?
guys have a blessed day. I'm so happy to be here. Hi, sweetie.
Bye-bye, Miss D.
She's usually on most of your videos, right?
Yeah, well, Ariana, she's my oldest. She used to be in the videos like when I first started YouTube.
Yes.
She's getting too old now and too pretty. She wants to be on
Her
all
tablet.
them little games, them tablets.
Yes.
This
That's
Ari
what
right
she's
here.
getting. Hi, sweetie.
Say hey. Say, yeah. All right. So thanks everybody for coming out, and we hope to see y'all next time. Thank y'all for watching, and as always, nobody want to say it today.
Grow, 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 grow.
Grow. Peace. God bless y'all. Thank you, Ms. D.
Bye. Have a good day.
All right.